Why freebies have been mentioned in the economic survey? Are freebies helping the people, or it is letting the economy bleed? And what are the consequences that we are looking towards? Welfare policies are meant to protect the vulnerable. But when this relief becomes a routine, this strains the economy. And this is what exactly has been highlighted in economic survey which has been brought out by a finance minister, that the freebies in the state finances are not just a question of political debate, they have started to hurt the fiscal and growth story of our own country. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we will be understanding that why exactly freebies are becoming a concern, keeping aside the political chaos wrapped around it. So in the economic survey which was released day before yesterday, it has been clearly brought to notice that when we are talking about freebies present in India, they are draining public finances and they are also widening deficits. That means there will be lesser money which will be left for development. And an interesting suggestion has been made that we can take a role model example of Brazil, how to convert these freebies into something important that can help us. So we will be understanding all of this, starting with getting into more detail that what exactly has been highlighted. So when we are talking about economic survey, the rising trend of freebies has been highlighted, that how in recent times Indian states have started to deliver and show an adverse and also visible outcome of these unconditional free transfers that we get to see. And this is where an interesting data was also put forth, where if we compare financial year 2023 and financial year 2026, the number has ballooned 5x when we are talking about freebies. So this is where we have to understand that this is not just about political debate around it. This has economic repercussions that have always been clubbed around the political debate but never talked about separately. And this as a concern being highlighted in our economic survey, we need to understand it to the T. So starting with again understanding that what exactly. Now moving ahead with understanding more details that have been highlighted in economic survey. So economic survey has first highlighted the rising trend that has been seen in freebies or UCTs, that is unconditional cash transfers, and the main data that has been put forth was about how it has turned fivefold in last 3 years. And if you see in this given data, we have 11 states in front of us, and this particular data is from end of 2024 and mid 2025, and these are the UCTs, matlab unconditional cash transfers, which have been promised in different names. This will also give you an insight that UCTs have been made women centric. Now in this context, another important thing that has been highlighted, that as of now we have an expenditure of 1.7 lakh crores in the coming financial year, and the economic survey has clearly warned that this will not only cause fiscal stress when we are trying to reduce the fiscal deficit, but it will also reduce the capital spending that can help in development, and also it will create labor disincentives. So in this context, we clearly get to understand when that we are talking about welfare, but we have no goal, no association with outcome, this might become risky and this will become a permanent fiscal liability on the state. Because once you have promised, for example, a good example here would be Delhi. When we talk about AAP government, they had promised freebies, loads of them. But when the second government came in, instead of probably trying to correct it to ensure the welfare, they also promised equivalent number and more up to that. So all you will see that this will either keep on increasing if you are talking in the political terms, but we have to continuously look what kind of harm it is causing on the economic end as well. Now on this note, we have understood what has been the main concern put forth. Another thing that has been put forth in economic survey is the role model that we can follow, the example, the case study that we can use from Brazil to address this situation. We'll move to it later once we have dissected this whole situation in front of us. So from here on, let us try to understand everything from scratch, starting with what exactly are freebies. So when I am saying I am giving you some money or any good without any conditions associated with it, and when I am is the government, that is when a freebie or unconditional cash transfer comes into the situation. That means there will be cash support without any condition. It can be in any form, but it has no linkage at all to your employment, to your performance, to your education, health, skill, nothing at all. And most often than not, if we are seeing India's scenario, there is no sunset clause. That means there is no ending to it, that okay, we are offering you unconditional support for 2 years. Okay, we are facilitating this till you reach this level of income. We are facilitating this for this. There has been no sunset clause at all. And what does it do? It makes it difficult for the political parties to withdraw, which we have seen in multiple scenarios across the state. The list of schemes that I had just shown you, that is only 1/3 of the freebie scenario that has been put forth. So in this context, first we have a clear understanding in terms of freebies. It has another thing associated with it. Another thing associated that has been seen in the recent times, that it has gradually expanded across the states. It's not that it was concentrated in a certain region, but we are seeing that Andhra Pradesh, Assam, West Bengal, Haryana, all of these states are also taking up from the example. And that is why the economic survey has clearly highlighted that the problem is not with the welfare that is happening, that if you are trying to address the social indicators, that is not the issue. The issue is in terms of design, that what are you trying to do with it and how are you trying to do with it and what are you trying to achieve with it. If that comes to clarity and if that can be changed, then this welfare, which will be goal oriented, which will be design oriented, it might be more productive, not just for the society but for the economy as well. Now that we have a fair idea of freebies, we will be moving to understand that why in recent times we have seen increase in freebies, what are the causes that have led to freebies move all across our country. So the first reason that we find here, you have to understand that it is related that we have a very political economy. If the public wants to see immediate and visible benefits of a political party coming in, it comes into scenario freebie. If a political party has promised some amount, next month the moment they are brought into the power, they will deliver on that. And vice versa also. If the public has been promised this, the political party can visibly deliver this. So it works both ways. Furthermore, it has a strong electoral incentive for the political party, because of these freebies, a lot of elections in recent times have taken turns. And another factor is the high political cost of rollback. If any political party, let's just say AAP had brought in freebies, be it in terms of electricity, be it in terms of water and others, if they had rolled back, if they had taken it back, do you think the public sentiment would have been with them? Even though later it was not, but if they had rolled it back in the second term only, so would the public sentiment be with them? No. So that is why we get to see addition and addition on this. Furthermore, the broader picture is about political economy, but it has been painted with the idea of welfare. The political parties or the political setup pitches that we are trying to do good. This is true in many scenarios because it does help in terms of income for women, for informal workers, for rural household. It definitely helps to manage the inflation. But when we are talking about welfare, we are not talking about crippling the economy. If the economy shatters, then we are not just going to be responsible for the loss of these people, but all the other population that is present here. So that also needs to be taken in consideration when we are looking into causes. And another factor that comes is the administrative ease, because when we are talking about a promise made by political party, let's just say it is about creation of employment, that is difficult, but giving money is faster, easier, visible. If we are talking about monitoring, it needs minimum monitoring requirements, because as of now when we are talking banking system, direct benefit transfer, it becomes easier. So as a result, what we have seen, it has become easy to announce, it has become easy to deliver, but it is something that is hard to exit, because whichever party decides, political party, to decide to exit, they would have to make the exit from the domestic politics as well, which seems like the scenario as of now. Now that we have a clear idea about freebies and also how they have proliferated, what are the causes behind them, now let us move to the further details that have been brought out from the economic survey and understand that what is the state of fiscal scenario, especially amongst the state. So when we are looking at the fiscal consequences that have been highlighted in the survey, the first thing that they have shown that as of now, unconditional cash transfers stand somewhere around 0.19% to 1.2% of the gross state domestic product. So whatever the state is forming, out of that, this percentage varies. And if we are talking about the state budget, usually it is around 8.26% of the state budget. And this is happening even after many states are in revenue deficit. So when we are talking about revenue itself, first let us try to understand what exactly is a revenue deficit. When we are talking about revenue expenditure and revenue receipts, that means the expenditure that the government is doing on the usual things that will not create anything at all, and that will also not lead to loss of any assets. So for example, if the government is paying salaries, that is revenue expenditure. When we are talking about revenue receipts, any sort of income that the government is getting without any loss of assets or creation of liability will be revenue receipt. For example, if the government is getting taxation that is not leading to any loss of asset or any addition of liability, but if the government is taking loan, that will not be revenue receipt. So when we are looking into revenue deficit, it is calculated by revenue receipts minus revenue expenditure. That means the regular expenditure which is not leading to loss of asset or increase of liability, that is taken in this scenario. Now if this is running in minus, that means our revenue receipts are less and our revenue expenditure is more. In this scenario, how will we focus on any sort of capital expenditure which will ensure assets formation or decrease of liabilities? So this is a very difficult place for states, because when you do not have enough for regular expenditure, how will you focus on capital formation? And even after this, we are also getting to see the macro indicators are not the best, because if we are talking about state's fiscal deficit, that was around 2.6% of the GDP 3 years back, and now it has come to 3.2% in the last year. If you look at the total outstanding debt of the state, that is 28% of the GDP, and already 62% of the upcoming revenue is already pre-committed in form of salary, pension, interest and subsidies. So the states have to borrow more to keep the regular expenditure going. I'll give you an example here to understand. For example, if your income is 10,000 rupees and your basic expenditure, your food, your rent goes for 12,000. What would you have to do? You would have to borrow 2,000 every month to ensure that the basic fulfillment is there. And there is no way to get out of it, because every month you would have to borrow more and more and more. So this cycle will not end and there will be no asset creation because of this. And when we are looking at an economy which wants to be a developed economy by 2047, what kind of numbers are these and how this will match up to that? So this is a big question that has been raised. If you see in this given graph, you will be able to understand that how over the years the Indian budget deficit has increased, and it is time that we address this gradually. Now on this note, we will be moving to the next part of the discussion where we understand the impact of the numbers that we were just discussing. So when we are talking about these immense numbers, we have to understand that a trade-off has been created because of these unconditional cash transfers, where the revenue expenditure has been made so high that it is limiting the capital expenditure. And because of that, critical sectors like health, education, infrastructure, skill development, they are suffering. And that is why the survey has clearly given a warning that more allocations, if they go to unconditional cash transfers, they will crowd out the resources, especially for social, physical infrastructure. And if you don't want to do this, if you want to keep the high revenue expenditure and high capital expenditure, then you have to widen your deficit. That means your deficit will be furthermore. That is more disastrous a situation. So what do you want? Do you want a short-term relief or a long-term growth? You have to make the choice now. And this is a choice that the states, the political setup of our country, and we also as citizens need to make, that do we want this short-term relief or we want to look towards the longer-term growth. Now that we have understood all of this, now let us look how exactly freebies have been delivering. If we are looking at the positive effect, yes, they have provided income support, they have facilitated the consumption in our country, created demand, and they have worked for shock absorption, especially during crisis if you talk about COVID. But the problem here is we do not see, because there has been a stable income support, there has been no direct advantage in terms of nutrition, learning outcomes or poverty reduction. So if we are doing this should reflect here as well. And evidence is showing that whatever is the support that is short term and it is not converting into something permanent and long term. And that is why it is time that we consider it in all the scenarios. Furthermore, the survey is clearly flagging that because of the support, there is reduced female labor force participation, and especially when transfers take from large income share, the work incentive that people would not to work. If you are getting the basic amount from somewhere else, why would you want to work? So freebies have become safety nets. They are not the ladders. For example, if somebody is getting more income, they will focus on nutrition. But that is not happening in our country. If somebody is getting income from somewhere else, they don't want to work at all. So this needs to be changed, and that is why we need to follow Brazil's model. Brazil's model, which has the condition with the cash transfer. That means if you show good school attendance, you get rewarded. If you get immunization done, you get rewarded. If there are proper maternal health checkups, you get rewarded. So there is strong monitoring, there is strong audits, there is periodic assessment, and also exit and graduation pathways. That means if you are doing all this, you will be rewarded, but after a point of time, it will be stopped. And that is why if you see school attendance in Brazil, if we are comparing from 2001 to 2015, especially for age 16 here and age 15 here, there has been a solid increase in numbers. And this clearly shows that how conditionality in terms of cash transfer can actually move the public towards better socio-economic condition, and it is just like penalizing for not wearing helmet. So public starts to wear it out of fear, but over the years, let's hope there is enough awareness that that penalty is not required. So in this context, we are using it in a reverse context, that we are asking you to make sure that you are ensuring that your kid goes to school, and if the school attendance is bare minimum this, then you will have a conditional cash transfer in that context. Now this particular was case study of Bolsa Familia policy framework from Brazil. Other examples across the globe do exist, for example in Mexico where Progresa and Oportunidades was created. Philippines has such example, and welfare was a ladder which ensured investment in human capital, not crippling of state finances and defunking of the economy. Now what are your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.